So hi there everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am Mary from Mary Matthews Handmade and today I'm going to show you how to crochet up one of these super cute and easy little pumpkins. So I absolutely love making these little pumpkins. I decorate my house with them. You can make them in whatever colours, whatever sizes you like. They'd make ideal gifts, or you could even use them as pin cushions. Now this is the example that I'm going to show you. I have used an Aran weight yarn and I've used a half treble stitch. That's half doubles if you're in the US. Now I have made a smaller one here. Now I used a double knit weight yarn and I used double crochets. So if you're in the US, that's single crochets. So that's one way of making them a little bit smaller. I wanted to make a slightly larger one. So on this example, I've used 2 strands together. So I've used 2 strands of a double knit weight and a 5mm hook. Now if you notice, I've just used a piece of cardboard here, and in the tutorial I will show you when to insert your alternative stalk. Now on this one I've actually added some leaves. Now this is from a pattern from a Knotty Boss, so what I will do is link that down in the description box below, but you could also add maybe some felt leaves, make your own leaves, whatever you want to do. And then finally this massive example won't fit in the shot. I have used some Hessian ribbon to make a stalk. Again, I've used the leaves from a pattern from the Knotty Boss, but I have used 3 strands of yarn. I've actually used a James C. Brett, this lovely baby, the cream one there, lovely baby yarn, and then I've used 2 Aran weight yarns, 2 different greens together, and I used an 8mm hook. But all these I have made up using exactly the same tutorial. It's just you can size them up or down and you can use your own measurements. It's entirely up to you. I'll explain it all, so let's get going. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you using this Caron Simply Soft 100% acrylic yarn. This is a 4-weight yarn, which over here in the UK is an Aran weight, and this is appropriately called pumpkin. I'm also, for the stalk, excuse me, it's alive, going to be using this 100% cotton. This is Lily's Sugar and Cream in warm brown, and again this is an Aran weight yarn. You're also going to need some toy stuffing. You most really need a little bit more than this. I got mine from Hobbycraft, but you can also recycle old pillows or cushion pads. You're going to need a 5mm hook. Okay, this is a Clover and More hook. It's one of my favourites. So you need a 5mm. You're going to need a darning needle. Now I prefer for this project to use these metal ones rather than the plastic ones that I normally use, because the needle needs to go through this stuffing and I find that these are a bit sharper. You're also going to need some scissors and anything that you want to decorate your pumpkins with. So let's get going. So we're going to start by putting a slip knot on our hook, but before that I need to tell you we need to allow a reasonably long tail. So I leave about 30 to 40 centimetres. We're going to be using this tail to sew once we put our pumpkin together. So you've got to remember to do that. then we can put our slip knot on our hook. Now you can do this however you like to, but this is how I do it. So I wrap my yarn around those two fingers, pull it up and across, and then you're going to go under with your hook, grab that yarn, pull it through, take your fingers out, and we are on our hook. Now for this size pumpkin, I am going to do a chain of 22. So it's grab the yarn, pull through, grab the yarn, pull through for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 21, 22. Now obviously you can make these pumpkins as large or as small as you'd like, but just as a guide, remember these pumpkins get squished down. So if you're making your chain, you want to think about when your pumpkin is squished down, it's going to be just over half the height of your chain. So just take that into consideration when you're making your original chain. Now I'm going to be using half trebles, that's half doubles if you're in the US. So I'm going to start in the second chain from my hook. So 1, 2, I'm going to put my first half treble. So half treble is yarn over, push through that chain, grab the yarn and pull it through. So I've got 1, 2, 3 stitches on my hook, grab the yarn and pull it through all 3. Now that's a half treble. Again, if you're in the US, that's a half double. So another one, yarn over, push through, grab the yarn, pull it through. So I've got 3, grab the yarn, pull it through all of those stitches on your hook. So we are going to work our way all of the way down this first chain, doing half trebles. Okay, so I will meet you at the other end. So I have worked all the way along, putting those half trebles in each of those chains. Now for row 2, this row we are going to repeat for the rest of our work. So row 2 starts with a chain 2 up, then I'm going to turn my work, and then I remember I've chained 2 up, so this is the first stitch that I'm working in. I am going to do half trebles in the back loops of these stitches. So normally we work along these V stitches at the top, we work through both loops, but for this pattern we're literally going to work in the back loop only. So if I show you, we yarn over, push through the back loop of that V, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull it through. Now it looks a little bit strange to start with, but that's how we get our nice ridged effect. So we're literally just going to put half trebles in the back loops of those stitches all the way along. Okay, so it's the back loop of those V's. Okay, and I will meet you at the other end. So I'm at the end of this row and we're just going to continue with exactly the same. So before you turn, do a chain 2 up, flip your work, and then again we are working in the back loops only. And I just want you to keep going, and then I will explain about the sizes in 1 second, but just keep going to and fro with those half trebles, working in the back loops only. So I have gone ahead and I've worked my pumpkin piece. Now I have actually done 25 rows here of the half trebles. Now what you want to have is the length needs to be twice as long as you have the height. Okay, so I've measured mine. Now my original chain up measured 11 centimetres, so this length here is 22 centimetres. If you haven't got a ruler or a tape measure to hand, what I tend to do is just fold that. So you've got this, which is your height up, down, so that's one length, and I fold that one to the middle so I can see here, okay, that I've got 2 times the height. Then what I've done is fasten off, and again I have left a nice long tail. Now I've done about 50 centimetres. This will be way too much, but I prefer to have too much than too little, because this is the end that we're going to use to sew up the top and the bottom of our pumpkins. So this long tail, for the moment, I'm just going to put out the way, and I'm going to go back to this tail that we had when we started our chain. Now I'm going to use this to actually sew these 2 sides together. Now if you look at your piece, you can decide maybe one side is neater than the other. Mine look pretty much exactly the same, so I'm not going to worry too much. But what you would do is have right sides together, and then we're going to use this end here to sew over and over and join that to make like a little tube. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to thread my darning needle. Okay, and then if you turn your work towards you, you need this to be lined up, so just keep an eye on that. You don't want to sort of end up with something that looks like that. But if you turn your work towards you, you can see the end of these stitches here. You've sort of got these nice little V's. So what we're going to do is just join those together. So I'm going to start by going through that V. Then I'm just going to come over. I'm going to go into the end of that stitch and that V there. Oops. Join that one. Again, come over. Just using those stitches as a guide. Okay, so this sewing is going to be on the inside, so don't worry if it's not too neat. I don't think anybody's really going to see it, but you just want to make sure that this bit stays lined up. So just have a check as you're going along, and then you're just going to use those end stitches to join up. So I've sewn all the way along. I'll just do a final one on that end. Okay, try not to get mixed up with this long tail here. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm going to knot that off, just a simple knot. And I'll do another one. So just go through, knot off your yarn, and then I'm going to hide my end down within the body itself. Now again, you see this is the inside. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about that end because it's going to be on the inside. I've knotted it off so it's quite secure. And then what we need to do next is to flip this out, so we've now working with the right side facing out. So now we're going to be working with this very long end, the one that we finished off with. Okay, so I have threaded my darning needle, and now what we're going to do is do some stitches around this side so that we can gather. Okay, now in effect this first side is going to be the bottom of our pumpkin. So it's very simple, you don't have to worry too much about being that neat. What we're going to do is just going in and out all the way around. So I tend to go in just every few stitches along, and then what I'll do is I'll pull this end through. Just be careful, it's quite a long end so you don't want to get it knotted. And then as you can see, it's going to slightly gather. So I'm just going to go in and out. There's no rules really. You just want it to be reasonably even. So you get an even gather, and then you can pull it as you go. So again, in and out. Do a few stitches and then pull that yarn through, and we're going to go all the way around. And as I said, this is the bottom of our pumpkin. So I have gone all the way around, and I've just given that as tight a pull as I dare. I don't want to snap any yarn. Now you can see you will be left with a little bit of a hole, so I'll just show you how to close that up. So all I'm going to do is just go over to the opposite side, put a stitch in and then pull that through. And then you could do this as much as you want, and then what I tend to do is go up there, come out the opposite side, just 2 or 3 stitches just to close that hole up. Now my hole is quite small, so that's reasonably closed tight anyway. And then what I'm now going to do is push the needle through so that it comes, the yarn has come up through to the other side. So now we want to take some of our toy filling and we just want to stuff our little pumpkin. Now bearing in mind this squashes down, so you don't want to overfill so that it's coming out the top. Okay, and then what we're going to do, I'm still threaded up, we're going to gather at the top as well. So my thread is coming up here, so I'm just literally going to pull my thread to a starting point over here, it doesn't really matter where. And again, I'm going to go in and out all the way around. So I'm just using those stitches to go in and out. And if I pull that through, and then as you can see, it starts to gather up. So again, in and out, and then I like to gather as I go. Okay, so you're going to go all the way around here and I'm going to show you what to do. So as you can see, I've gone all the way around and I've gathered as I've gone round. Now if you were going to use something different for the stalk, like a stick or a piece of hessian, I've literally put tape around here because I didn't want it to unravel while I was doing the demonstration. What I would do now is add a dab of glue, fabric glue or whatever you've got, and then you put in your stalk. And then you can use your end literally to tighten up, and then you're basically good to go. But we're not doing that. I'm showing you how to crochet a stalk. So as we did on the bottom, we are now going to join this hole up in the same way. So I've ended here. So I'm going to go across to the opposite side, and then I'm just going to put a few stitches in, okay, just to close that hole up. So I'm just going to work around. So you might get your stuffing caught, so it's a little bit fiddly this bit, but persevere with it. So you just really want to tighten this bit up. Now again, we're going to be putting a stalk, so don't worry if you think, oh, that doesn't look neat enough. I don't think you're really going to notice it. So I'm putting 3 stitches, so I've sort of rotated around. Okay, whoopsie, can't get hold of my needle. There we go. And that has sort of pulled that centre together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this needle through, and I want it to come out at the bottom. Okay, so pull it through, and then give it a nice tug. Pull it through as tight as it'll go, because as you turn it over, you will see that the tighter you pull it, the better shape that you're going to have. So keeping it nice and tight, what you want to do is just knot it off on the bottom. As you can see, I had way too much yarn, but as I said before, I'd rather have too much than too little. You don't want to run out of yarn halfway through. So there you go. I've done a couple of knots, and then I just want to lose this end within the pumpkin, so just push your needle through, come out anywhere really, there'll do. Pull that yarn tight, and then take your scissors and cut off as close as you can, but don't cut your work. And then as you give that a bit of a squidge out, that end will get lost. So there you go. We've got our main little pumpkin shape, nice and squishy, quite easy to do. So now I'm going to show you how to make the stalk. So now I'm going to take my yarn that I'm going to use for the stalk. So I've got this nice brown cotton. Again, leave quite a nice tail, okay, to start with, and then literally it's just another slip knot on your hook. There we go. And I am going to start with a chain of 10. So it's 1, 2, 3, 8, 9 and 10. Now the size of our stalk is going to be this chain doubled over, so you can make it longer or shorter, it's entirely up to you. Now what we're now going to do is just do 2 rows of double crochet. Now if you use US terminology, that's single crochet. So in the second chain from your hook this time, we're just going to do double crochet, and then we're going to do doubles all the way along. So that's just no yarn over, insert, grab the yarn, pull it through, so you've got 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. So you are going to do double crochet all the way along this chain. So I've gone all the way along the chain. Do a chain 1 up, that's your turning chain, turn your work, and then we're going to do 1 more row. So again, it's just doing double crochet all the way along. So that's all there is to it. So I'm just going to do a chain 1 up, cut my yarn, leaving a nice reasonable end, pull that through, and there we have our stalk. So what we're going to do again, right sides together. I am going to use one of these ends just to do a couple of stitches to keep this together at the bottom. So again, I've just threaded my darning needle and just at the bottom, literally just catching either side. Oh, that didn't want to go through, did it? Catching either side. It's always fiddly sewing on camera. Okay, just a few stitches, and then what I want is for this end here to end up back over here. So I'm just going to go back on myself. Literally, you don't have to be too neat. This is going to be your little stalk, and these ends here I'm going to use to go through our pumpkin. Okay, so if I got our pumpkin here, the first end I'm going to push through. Okay, so you want to try and find the centre of the bottom and then give it a bit of a wiggle, because you've got to remember you're going through stuffing as well. So then just take the needle and take the thread out, turn it over, and you're going to do exactly the same with this thread here. You're going to push it through so that it comes out in the centre at the bottom. So our two ends are now through the bottom. Our stalk on the other side is there, nice and sturdy. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to tie these ends in, I would say, 2 knots. Pull it tight again, because again on the other side it helps the shape. So I'm doing a couple of knots. Now when you're, one more for luck actually, 3. Now when you're happy with that, what you can do is either snip the ends off, because as I say, that's on the bottom, or we can do the same as we did before, just using your needle, and you can hide the ends within the pumpkin itself. So I hid my ends quite nicely within the pumpkin. So there you go. You've got your basic little pumpkin there. Now, as I said before, you can add leaves, or you can tie a little bit of ribbon round the stalk. What I'm going to do with this one, I've got this, just this, literally, it's garden string. Just for that rustic look, so I'm just going to put a bow. So I tend to do the knot bit first so I can tighten it around my stalk. Okay, obviously you can just play around with decorations, add some felt leaves, whatever you want to do. Okay, that's on there quite nice and tight. And I'm just going to put a little bow. I may need to play with this off camera. There we go. Push it down. Plump that little stalk out. There you go. And you can trim your ends up if you want. I quite like the look of these being quite long. There you go. And I'm going to do about there. There you go, you've got your little pumpkin. So there you go, quite simple really. Please do let me know how you got on. Leave some comments down below. If you liked this tutorial, please do subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And I will see you here next time. Bye bye for now.